Hey everyone, I'm Charlie and you guys are watching Dawn on Nerds, and this is our first look series where we're going to actually look at games that are yet to be released, that are coming out, that have released demos available to the public. And the first one we're actually going to be checking out is Funko Fusion. This is available to download on Steam. It's not currently available on Xbox and PlayStation yet. Hopefully at some point they do release a demo version for us to obviously delve into for the console players. But this is available on Steam. You can download it now. It's free. It allows you to obviously jump straight into the game. They've allowed a demo level, which is obviously at the moment only of the thing and kind of the start of the game in terms of what actually happens, how the game gets started. And you start off in this kind of area where it's almost based exactly on the thing. You can see obviously it's all a snow-based area. And eventually it takes you through a tutorial where you end up meeting certain characters. They teach you the basics, etc., etc. So far, though, obviously in terms of the actual game itself, the game plays really nicely. I've actually quite enjoyed the Lego aesthetic of it. It reminds me of the old Telltale Lego games. None of the characters actually talk, but you get the reactions and their facial features, and that's how the game is displayed. The gun and the shooting and over the kind of third-person dynamic of shooting plays fine, works well. I haven't had a problem with it so far. It's responsive. It works the way I would want it to, which is quite nice. There's a variety of different enemies so far that I've come across. Obviously, depending on the level that you're playing, I presume the enemies are going to be varied. These gunk enemies seem to be just for the tutorial as far as I can tell at the moment. But, obviously, you have to deal with them in different ways. Some of the smaller ones you can just shoot. The bigger one that you guys just saw, obviously you can stun him and then you have to damage him with melee attacks to be able to obviously finish him off. Healing and health is a weird one. I haven't quite figured that out yet. The healing itself, obviously, you can see up in the top left corner, you've got your 3 hearts. So you can basically die and come back 3 times, and you come back as a ghost, which is quite cool. And then you obviously go back to your Funko Pop body box, and then you can revive yourself and you lose a heart. The actual meter underneath, obviously, you've got the 3 red lines, and then you've got the rest, which are kind of like your shield as such. Obviously, that can be regenerated by drinking Funko sodas and things like that. And I've noticed, obviously, throughout the game, when you break stuff, you'll get effectively studs, but they're gems in this, and obviously they build up to allow you to obviously build various things. There's also these machines that are scattered around that you can take the little. You saw me open up the chest a second ago, which obviously gave me like a blue kind of blueprint almost. You take those to the machines, and obviously they allow you to build ones. Later on in the levels, I've noticed that you do get red ones, which allow you to build better firearms, so you can make grenades and things like that. But this opening of the game is actually quite a really decent opening. It's quite a dark game. Obviously, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it as a kid's game as such. Obviously, Funko, I know, not being aimed at children, but the game looks like it would be a children's game. Obviously, here I'm just showing you guys some of the different mechanics. You can waypoint stuff. Characters have like jump abilities, dodge abilities, and like charge up enemies. Charge up like your melee attack, which is kind of cool. I thought obviously it's something different. Obviously, it changes the gameplay a little bit. But this part here is obviously like the opening cinematic, and you guys will see obviously that some of it's actually quite dark. There's various, obviously this is going to be Eddie, as he's known. He's the evil Freddy. If any of you know obviously Freddy Funko, he's one of basically the mascot for Funko. He disguises himself as different characters. You can actually buy the various Funko Pops of him in different versions, which is kind of cool if you're into that. But this is the evil Freddy, Eddie, and he's effectively the antagonist for this game. This kind of whole game starts because of him and this purple goop stuff that's scattered around, and he's after obviously Freddy's crown, which you can see obviously Freddy always wears. Now, as I was mentioning, obviously not being really a kid's game, you can see what he does to the Funko Fox, and it kind of speaks for itself, really. It's comedic in the same time. Obviously, some kids might be slightly mortified, and obviously, depending on some of the levels that they've allowed in the game, you've got the Jaws level, you've got the Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, Umbrella Academy. All of those are kind of adult-orientated series. So I can imagine some parts will be not as kid-friendly as, say, like this silly little opening where they're kind of Freddy's in his Funko Iron Man costume and it's all going on. But it could be quite interesting to see how the game is perceived by obviously other parents and things like that. Me being a parent myself, I wouldn't mind letting my kids play this because obviously it's quite comedic. It's not that serious. It's not overly gory. Like, you're not seeing blood and guts. It's all almost animated comic-y style gore. It's nothing that's going to traumatize them for life. But the cutscenes themselves are really well put together. You can see obviously the graphics are very, very good, and you can like the fact that Freddy there is like kind of withering away, and you can see his skull, but you can still see aspects of his skin from the Funko Pop, and it kind of gives us that impression that there's going to be like different parts throughout the game where you're going to see different characters. It's a shame your character doesn't deteriorate like that as well. That would be really cool. So as they took more damage, more of their skeleton started to show. But I suppose obviously programming that and the amount of times you take damage in this game is quite a lot. So it kind of reminds me of the old X-Men Origins Wolverine game, where he slowly started decaying, and as he healed, his body like started returning to normal. The boss fights obviously so far seem pretty basic. Obviously they're your standard boss fights. Shoot the weak point, something happens, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. But in terms of the actual like boss fight itself, it was a fun little, like obviously dynamic. Obviously you had to shoot the weak points, jump over the area, AoE attacks that the boss would throw out. And this part here, being able to obviously integrate yourself into the boss fight. So obviously you've got the Freddy Funko fighting him in the armor, and you still have to damage the boss at the same time. So I'm wondering, however, like if there's going to be many parts, because we've seen with the Hot Fuzz one, with obviously Danny's dad in Hot Fuzz, he is the inevitable bad guy at the end of it. And we've seen in some trailers that the boss fight for the end of the Hot Fuzz section will obviously be Danny's dad. And again, it's that big boss, and you're kind of having to do certain things to build it up. So it will be interesting to see how they play that into other obviously sections. You'll see coming at the end of, towards the end of this video, there's a section where you do the Thing film. Now the Thing's obviously John Carpenter's. It's a horror film. No way would I let a child watch the actual movie itself. It's far too gruesome and gory. But obviously Funko have turned it into a level within this. So again, it will be very interesting to see how it plays out and how well it's perceived by general audiences, particularly obviously the Funko fans, because obviously it's aimed at Funko fans. It's aimed at obviously the different people that would collect Funko, which is a massive thing for me personally, which I so far, my personal opinion, I'm loving the game so far. The demo is just enough to kind of get you going thinking, oh, okay, yeah, am I going to enjoy this? There's enough gameplay there for you to kind of jump in and go, okay, this is the general gist of how the game works. Collect the gems, do all of the standard stuff that you would normally do. So you can see now, obviously on the screen, I'm actually heading down to the first proper level. Whether this will be the actual introductory level when the game fully releases, we've only got like 2 weeks until the game comes out, so obviously we'll find out then. Or whether you'll just be able to choose whatever world you want to go into straight off the bat. But the first one, obviously Husky Hustle, you go into that. The idea behind it is that in John Carpenter's The Thing, the dogs kind of play a huge part. I don't want to spoil it, but the dogs play a huge part in the storyline, especially at the end of the film. And they're kind of playing into that aspect. You've got McCready, obviously, they're not drinking whiskey. It's pop soda by the looks of things in the shape of whiskey. It's quite clever. Again, it's that Lego vibe of the old Telltale Lego games, like the Lego Star Wars. Everything was based on reactions. Like the characters didn't speak. It was enough. You got the idea of the storyline. You kind of did different things and activities in the levels. So you can see there, obviously, I had to use the gas canister to destroy it to free up one of the pups. There's little snowmen scattered around, which really reminded me of Lego, where you had to collect the canisters. There's chests, which you can only unlock in the game based on the amount of like gems you have available. However, you get gems for destroying basically anything. Enemies, chests, anything that's in the surrounding area. Also, like all the crates and the plant pots, the stuff on the shelves. If you destroy any of that, you get gems. So building up gems is not exactly a hard thing. You can see me here. I'm literally just going around destroying the entire environment, and my gems are building up very quickly. Like, it's not a difficult thing to do. And especially depending on the character, because each character have different abilities. So the character I'm playing as now, obviously one of his specials is the fact that he uses an explosive flare gun. So there's fire-based, there's He-Man as well, there's Freddy Fazbear, you've got Mega Man, all of these characters are available in the demo, almost to give you kind of like a teaser to how they will play, what they will be like. So the next one it will cut to in a second, obviously you've got Freddy Fazbear. He uses a pizza gun that effectively shoots loads of like pizzas out, almost like a submachine gun effectively. And his gameplay varies for him. Whereas you play as some of the more human characters, they have different human abilities. And it's quite nice to see that to do certain aspects in the game, you're going to need certain characters. Very similar to Lego. Again, I know I keep making that comparison, but the game really, really reminds me of the old Telltale. And it'll be interesting to see what gameplay characteristics and techniques they bring into the game based on the characters' abilities. So you can see there, those are the blueprints that I was talking to you guys about, where you have to take them to the machine. It allows you to unlock better things through the machine that you can mould and craft, which is always a handy thing. There's a quick gameplay here of obviously He-Man, him being electricity based, so he shoots electric out of his sword, and his melee attack. He's one of the only characters in this particular level that can open up a certain door. You can't actually open up this door without using He-Man. So obviously that could be a strength based thing. You can see it here. Obviously, there's a gold door, and He-Man. Whether I'm presuming it's a strength-based like activity that he is the only one that can do that. Shame there was nothing really in the room other than a fuse, but the fuse is obviously something that you will need access to progress other things and unlock little secrets. Which I found obviously there's quite a few hidden throughout each level. So 1010 games, I presume, are going to do the same thing. They're going to hide different aspects, different parts of the levels behind different characters. And we know, obviously, based on the trailers that we've seen, there's Chucky and Megan and characters like that will be interested to see what their characteristics are, what their abilities are. One of the funny things I did find, obviously, is that once you've drunk the sodas, so for example here, obviously I'll drink the soda and then you can actually recycle them and you get points for recycling. So you can tell that's aimed at the kids and kind of, it's a fun little thing. A little bit of Mega Man gameplay I thought I'd throw in there as well. He is unlockable during this level. Again, it's another character they've thrown in there. You have to kind of take out this guy in the helicopter, and then, yeah. It's one of the things you need to do to free the last pup. And before, obviously, the trailer, like the demo ends, you're greeted to like a really cool trailer that kind of shows off everything that's kind of going to be coming in the game. There's so much. I'm going to let this play out, but obviously there's a lot to digest in this like kind of section. How long are the levels going to be? We can see here, obviously, it's showing the Thing. We know there's going to be different boss fights. It's going to delve into more of the storyline of the Thing, which could be quite interesting. Umbrella Academy, one of my favourite series. The latest one was a bit meh, but that's a different story for another time. And you can see here, there's little aspects, and they're really cool, and it shows you the games, kind of what they're going to be like. But my question is, how big are those games going to be? Is it going to warrant multiple playthroughs to find all the secrets, etc., etc.? Is it going to be almost like we're replaying the entire film or series or game or multiple series? Like, it's going to be interesting to see, and I'm looking forward to when the game finally releases. And it's definitely on my radar. It's kind of appeared out of nowhere. I haven't really been following it, and getting the chance to actually play the demo on Steam was like massive. So that gave me kind of that opportunity to kind of go, well, okay, yeah, I am interested in this. I like Funko. I like collecting. I love the Lego games. This is very in that ballpark. So I'm very intrigued for what the actual game's going to be like. I think they've nailed it perfectly, what the game's like, the style and the aesthetic of each area. So like this with Jason the Goose, like Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, the Cornetto trilogy itself is one of my all-time favourite films. So being able to kind of play in those areas and go to Stanford and see what the game goes like this, brilliant. I think they've tried to cater to every audience, and it's nice to see that. But as I was saying, obviously, if you guys, obviously, I would highly recommend, if you can and you get the chance, definitely download the demo, give it a try. Let me know what you think in the comments, and obviously, are you guys going to get it? Are you looking forward to it? Is it something that's not even on your radar? But yeah, take care, guys. Have a good one, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Enjoy the last little bit of the trailers.